Hello, everyone. My name is Carly Gotz, and I am the General Manager for Botanica. And today I'm joined by Botanical Guide Simon Rickard. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you, Carly.
So, Simon, you've been a guide for Botanica for many years now, and Japan is one of your favourite destinations to visit. How many times have you actually been?
Oh gosh, yes, I've been guiding for Botanica for 20 years now, and I've been visiting Japan twice a year for since I don't know about 2010, something like that. So I would say I've been upwards of 25 times. I've actually lost count, to be honest.
I know you'll have to add them all up one day, but it's certainly been a lot. And each year, Botanica does travel to Japan during the autumn time and in the springtime, when Japanese gardens and landscapes are looking most striking. And next year, we're going to be cruising in springtime, so mid-April time. So, what can guests look forward to seeing at this time of the year?
Yeah, that's right, Carly. Japan is a country of four very distinct seasons, and those two shoulder seasons of spring and autumn are incredibly beautiful. In the autumn time, when we visit, the hillsides are all covered in tapestries of yellow and orange and red. And springtime, we've traditionally visited during the cherry blossom season, which is actually the very beginning of spring, or it's really the end of winter in a lot of ways. And at that time of year, in the cherry blossom season, it sort of equates to the snowdrop and crocus time in British gardens for our viewers who've been to Great Britain. So at that time of year, it is still very cold. We frequently have snow at cherry blossom season, and increasingly there are enormous crowds in Japan during the cherry blossom season because, of course, everyone wants to see the beautiful pink cherry blossoms. But next year we will be cruising in the next season, just a few weeks after cherry blossom. And at that time of year, everything's dripping in wisterias. There are tree peonies in flower. The very first azaleas are in bloom. And most importantly, all of the maple and willow trees are putting out their fresh, young green foliage. It's so vibrant and optimistic and fresh. And actually, the Japanese have a term for this season. They call it shinryoku, which means new green or fresh green. So it's a time of year that the skies are much bluer and the days are warmer, and it's a really pleasant time to visit Japan. So I'm looking forward to showing my guests a different side to the springtime in Japan with the fresh green, the wisterias, the tree peonies, the azaleas, and all of the beautiful things that we can appreciate after the cherry blossoms finished.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful time of the year. I always love springtime, as you say, it's that new hope and what's coming next. And yeah, really, really pretty time of the year to visit. So what is it that you love particularly about Japanese gardens, Simon?
Oh, what do I love about Japanese gardens? I think it's their commitment to design more than anything. You know, in Western style gardening, we're quite interested in botany, in having a big variety of plants, in having lots of different kinds of flowers, in having fragrance, having things in our garden that are rare, that our friends and neighbours don't have. You know, if I think about my own garden, I would say I have 200 or 300 different species of plants in my garden. But the Japanese are more interested in design. And so you tend to see the same 15 plants over and over and over again in Japanese gardens. But it's the way the gardens are laid out with stones and gravel. It's the interplay between the positive and negative elements of the garden. And the way the paths are laid out, even. You know, when you walk around a path in a Japanese garden, it's narrative. Every time you turn a corner, you're shown a different view, given a new emotion. And sometimes that's underscored by the surface that you're walking on. You can be on rammed earth 1 minute and then suddenly find yourself on granite stepping stones, which gives a different psychological effect as you move around the garden. The Japanese even think about the way that the stones that are placed in gardens will cast shadows over the course of the day as the sun moves overhead. So it's their real commitment to design that I think makes Japanese gardens so outstanding.
It's just fascinating. And hearing you talk about it and interpret what has been designed, that's what makes it even more interesting because there's so much thought has gone into it.
That's right.
And that,
And I mean, Westerners sometimes just see a pile of rocks, and
yeah,
until you have it explained to you why that's a World Heritage listed site, it can be a little bit opaque. But once
yeah,
you gain those extra layers of understanding, it makes it a much more interesting experience.
it is. It's fascinating. Do you have a particular favorite garden in Japan?
Oh, favorite garden. Can I
Mm.
have three?
You can have,
I think my
I'll let
three
you have
favorite
three.
gardens would be, well, Ken Rokuen Garden in Kanazawa. And Ken Rokuen is a strolling garden. So it's a big garden with a lake at its heart that's designed for you to walk around. And it's considered to be one of the three best gardens in Japan. It's considered to have all of the 6 attributes that make a perfect garden, which are spaciousness, seclusion, artifice, antiquity, watercourses, and vistas. And then I think another one of my favourite gardens, also in Kanazawa, is the one at the Nomura House. And this is a tiny courtyard garden, the size of my living room, inside an old samurai era house. Although it's tiny, there's so much going on in that garden. Again, it looks like a strolling garden. It has a path, but you don't walk in the path, you follow it. Psychologically, in your mind's eye, you can walk around this tiny garden, up into a high hill range, into the Alps, down into a forest of pine trees. And then there's a huge waterfall crashing over the edge of a little stream that runs through the garden. When I say huge, it's only about 2 foot across, but it looks like you feel like you're in this giant landscape. So I love that Nomura House garden. And then I think my third favourite one is the very famous stone garden in Kyoto called Ryoanji. And it has 15 stones set in gravel, 0 plants. I never thought I'd like a garden that doesn't have any plants in it. But this one is just so, what's the word, so moving to look at and to consider the history of, that it's one of my favourite gardens in the world.
Oh, it's and they're all so different, really, and that's the beauty. And as you say, it's the storytelling behind it, and the fact that you're led around a garden and a story unfolds. That's what's really
Exactly.
interesting.
Exactly right.
So next year we're going to be visiting at this time of the year on a ship. So we'll be sailing around Japan and making 2 stops in South Korea, also on the island Skye, and it takes a maximum of 100 guests. You've done this quite a number of times before. And what do you like about these small ship cruises in
Oh,
Japan?
yeah, look, I think the small ship cruises, I love the intimacy. I
Yeah.
love the fact that you only have to unpack once. It's a floating hotel, essentially. And of course, although we have 100 guests, we're not all together on the land trips during the day. We break up our groups into several coach loads of guests, so you're only ever with 25 guests during the land-based excursion. And then in the afternoon, you get back on board your floating hotel and you see your friends in the restaurant and talk about what you did during the day. So I love that sort of intimacy of being in a floating hotel. It also allows us to get into very small ports, which the big cruise ships can't access, and people don't bother to visit by on a land-based tour. Places such as Uwajima, which is on the western coast of Shikoku Island in Ehime Prefecture. It's a really charming, tiny town with one of the few surviving original samurai castles, a tiny little baby castle. And you can only get to this place by small ship. The big cruise ships can't fit in their port, and nobody bothers to go there by land. So these are the kinds of places we can experience. And you mentioned South Korea. We're also visiting Jeju Island next spring, and Jeju Island is it's a playground for urban Koreans, but it also happens to be a bit of a botanical hotspot, and quite a lot of plant hunting has been happening on Jeju Island in the past couple of decades. British gardeners in particular have been going there and discovering new plants and taking them back into British horticulture. And so I love that crossover between Jeju Island and the gardens of Great Britain.
Absolutely. It's the first time we've been there, so we shall see what we discover, Simon. You might uncover something new for your own garden,
Fingers
perhaps.
crossed.
Fingers crossed. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Simon. It's been really lovely to chat. Every time I speak to you about Japan, I learn something new. If you're interested at home to join us, please do have a look at our website, www.botanica.travel. And we'd love to have you along. And thank you
Yes, we
again,
would.
Simon.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you.